In many spiritual traditions across the world, the conservation of life force has been regarded as a sacred discipline. Semen retention, the practice of intentionally preserving sexual energy instead of releasing it through ejaculation, has been practiced for centuries by monks, yogis, mystics, and seekers of higher consciousness. Beyond physical discipline, semen retention is often described as a path to deeper spiritual insight, an awakening of perception that allows a man to see life, himself, and the divine with greater clarity. Spiritual insight is not merely intellectual knowledge. It is an inner knowing, a wisdom that arises from alignment between the body, mind, and spirit. Many practitioners believe that semen retention strengthens this alignment by preserving and redirecting the life force that fuels spiritual awareness. Across ancient cultures, semen has been regarded as a powerful form of life energy. In Sanskrit traditions, it is linked with ajas, the subtle energy believed to nourish the brain, strengthen the spirit, and sustain vitality. Taoist teachings describe sexual essence as jing, one of the fundamental energies that support spiritual development and longevity. When a man repeatedly expends this vital energy, he may feel temporarily relieved or satisfied, but many practitioners claim that constant release weakens the inner reservoir of life force. When the energy is conserved instead, it begins to accumulate, creating a heightened sense of vitality and awareness. This stored energy does not remain dormant. It moves upward through the body and influences the mind and spirit. The result, many say, is an awakening of spiritual perception. Semen retention is therefore not merely about abstinence. It is about transforming physical energy into spiritual insight. One of the first changes men often report when practicing semen retention is a shift in consciousness. Instead of being driven primarily by impulse and desire, the mind becomes calmer and more observant. Sexual desire is one of the most powerful instincts in the human body. When it dominates the mind, attention can become scattered and reactive. By practicing retention, a man begins to observe his desires instead of being controlled by them. This simple act of awareness is deeply spiritual. Many meditation traditions teach that enlightenment begins with observing the mind without attachment. Semen retention strengthens this ability because it requires discipline, mindfulness, and control over one's impulses. Each moment of restraint becomes an act of awareness. Over time, the practitioner begins to see thoughts, emotions, and desires with greater clarity. This clarity opens the door to spiritual insight. Another commonly reported effect of semen retention is increased sensitivity to subtle energies. When the body's vital force is preserved, the nervous system becomes more responsive. Many men describe feeling more connected to their surroundings, more aware of emotional atmospheres, and more sensitive to the presence of others. This heightened sensitivity often leads to deeper spiritual perception. Nature may feel more alive. Silence may feel more meaningful. Meditation may become more profound. Instead of perceiving life only through the senses, the practitioner begins to feel the energetic currents that flow beneath the surface of reality. Spiritual insight often arises in these moments of heightened awareness. A restless mind is one of the greatest obstacles to spiritual understanding. When a mind is filled with constant stimulation and craving, it becomes difficult to hear the voice of inner wisdom. Semen retention can help quiet the mental noise. As the body stabilizes and energy is conserved, many practitioners report improved focus and mental clarity. The mind becomes less fragmented and more centered. This mental stillness is essential for spiritual insight. In silence, deeper truths emerge. Questions about purpose, meaning, and identity begin to surface naturally. Rather than being distracted by fleeting pleasures, the mind begins to contemplate the deeper nature of existence. Spiritual insight is not merely about understanding. It is also about transformation. The journey inward requires courage, discipline, and strength. Semen retention cultivates these qualities. Choosing to retain one's sexual energy in a culture that constantly promotes indulgence is a powerful act of self-mastery. Each day of discipline strengthens the will. This growing inner strength often spills into other areas of life. Men may find themselves more motivated to pursue meaningful goals, develop healthier habits, and align their actions with their values. As the will becomes stronger, the spirit becomes more resilient. This resilience allows the practitioner to face inner shadows and confront deeper truths about himself. Such confrontations are essential for spiritual insight. Desire itself is not the enemy. Desire is a natural force that drives growth, creativity, and connection. However, uncontrolled desire can cloud perception and lead to spiritual stagnation. Semen retention refines desire rather than suppressing it. Instead of being directed solely toward physical pleasure, sexual energy begins to transform into motivation, creativity, and inspiration. Artists, thinkers, and spiritual teachers throughout history have often spoken about the transformation of sexual energy into creative power. When desire is purified, it becomes a source of illumination rather than distraction. Through this process, spiritual insight deepens. Many spiritual practitioners report feeling closer to the divine while practicing semen retention. This connection may not always come in dramatic visions or mystical experiences. Often, it appears as a quiet sense of presence, peace, and reverence for life. The mind becomes more contemplative. Prayer and meditation feel more sincere. Gratitude arises more easily. Some describe it as feeling aligned with a higher intelligence or divine order. When the body's life force is preserved, it may become easier to tune into this deeper spiritual dimension. In many religious traditions, sexual discipline has been linked to spiritual devotion. Monks, saints, and mystics have practiced celibacy not as a punishment, but as a way of focusing their energy on divine communion. Semen retention can be understood as a modern expression of this ancient spiritual principle. One of the most profound spiritual insights that can arise through semen retention is a deeper understanding of oneself. Without constant distraction from pleasure-seeking behaviors, the practitioner is forced to confront his inner world. Hidden fears, unresolved emotions, and unconscious patterns may surface. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. Spiritual growth requires self-awareness. By observing one's thoughts, habits, and reactions, a man begins to understand the forces that shape his life. Through this awareness, he gains the power to transform himself. Semen retention provides the energy and clarity needed for this inner work. A key concept in the spiritual philosophy of semen retention is transmutation. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only change form. Sexual energy, when conserved, can be redirected into higher pursuits, creative expression, intellectual exploration, spiritual practice, and acts of service. Instead of flowing outward through physical release, the energy circulates within the body and fuels personal evolution. Many practitioners experience bursts of creativity, increased productivity, and deeper meditation as a result. This transformation of energy is often described as turning base impulses into spiritual gold. Through transmutation, the raw power of desire becomes a catalyst for insight. Spiritual insight rarely appears overnight. Like any meaningful discipline, semen retention requires patience and persistence. There may be moments of struggle, temptation, or doubt, but these challenges are part of the journey. Each obstacle overcome strengthens the mind and deepens self-understanding. Over time, the practitioner may begin to notice subtle but powerful changes: a calmer mind, clearer intuition, stronger purpose, and deeper connection to life. These changes are signs that spiritual insight is growing. While semen retention can be a powerful practice, true spiritual insight also requires balance. The goal is not repression or shame around sexuality. Sexual energy is a natural and sacred force. The purpose of retention is to develop mastery over this energy rather than being controlled by it. When practiced with wisdom, self-respect, and mindfulness, semen retention becomes a tool for personal transformation. It teaches discipline without rigidity, awareness without judgment, and strength without ego. Ultimately, spiritual insight is about awakening the inner light within each person. It is the realization that life is not merely a series of external events, but a profound journey of consciousness. Semen retention, for many practitioners, becomes a gateway to this realization. By preserving and transforming life force, the practitioner strengthens the bridge between the physical body and the spiritual self. Clarity replaces confusion. Purpose replaces distraction. Awareness replaces unconscious habit. Through discipline, patience, and introspection, a man begins to see life with new eyes. He recognizes the sacredness of his energy, the power of his mind, and the depth of his spirit. And in that recognition, spiritual insight emerges, not as something learned from the outside, but as a truth discovered within. The spiritual insights surrounding semen retention offer a compelling counter-narrative to modern society's often casual attitude towards sexuality. From the perspective of ancient wisdom traditions, it is far more than a wellness trend. It is a profound psycho-spiritual technology. By framing semen as the physical vehicle of a vital life force, whether called ajas, jing, or the vessel for kundalini, these traditions provide a roadmap for the conscious transmutation of sexual energy. The ultimate goal is not simply abstinence, but the redirection of this potent force towards self-mastery, heightened creativity, and the realization of higher states of consciousness. While modern science has yet to validate the extraordinary spiritual claims, it acknowledges the powerful role of the mind-body connection and the potential for behavioral practices to influence well-being. The anecdotal reports of increased focus, drive, and a sense of harmony may well stem from the very psychological and energetic shifts described by these ancient paths. Ultimately, the spiritual practice of semen retention invites a person to engage with their own nature more consciously, transforming a fundamental biological impulse into an opportunity for profound inner growth. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and share the video.